Her legacy is truly revolutionary as she broke the barriers during the Attitude Era and inspired generations of female athletes, the one that led them to their current position. She showcased that women's wrestling could be a lot more than just having female performers go out and use their looks to bring in viewers. But how exactly did she change women's wrestling forever? And what happened to her after she left WWE that made everyone feel sad? So join us as we explore the epic life of the 9th wonder of the world, Chyna, in WWE. Born Joni Laura, Chyna was trained by the legendary Killer Kowalski in the mid-90s, but since there weren't a lot of female performers in Kowalski's wrestling school at the time, she had to train with male performers, with her very first match coming in 1995 against a male wrestler dressed as a woman. But things got going for Chyna when she met with Triple H and Shawn Michaels in 1996, after they had watched tapes of her, and both men knew that Chyna had to be in the WWE. The legendary duo tried to convince Vince to give her a chance, but the old man was hesitant in proceeding with the idea of having a female performer beat down men. But on the other hand, WCW were also interested in signing Chyna. When Shane McMahon learned about this, WCW decided to bring her in. So finally, she entered the wrestling world at a time when women's wrestling WWE was largely confined to roles as managers, valets, or occasionally the bra and panties matches. But in 1997, Chyna shattered every preconceived notion of what a woman in wrestling could be, and she debuted at In Your House Final 4 in a jaw-dropping fashion, attacking Marlena, Goldust's valet, by violently shaking her like a ragdoll. And to most at the time, it appeared as if a fan was attacking the poor woman, and it was a moment that left the audiences stunned. And it was all uphill from there, as WWE strategically shaped her presence to instill fear in the hearts of both men and women. And now, they were ready to showcase that Chyna can destroy all who oppose her to the wrestling world.
She is definitely a physical threat!
So from the beginning, Chyna was positioned as a serious force, often interfering in matches to aid Triple H. But what made her debut so iconic wasn't her physical dominance, it was the way she completely broke the mold. Standing nearly 6 feet tall with a chiseled muscular frame, she was unlike anyone fans had seen in WWE. And at a time when women in wrestling were often objectified, Chyna demanded to be viewed differently. She wasn't out there to be admired for her looks, she was there to fight. And it would be hard to argue that her alliance with D-Generation X was another groundbreaking step in her career. She was an integral part of one of WWE's most rebellious and influential factions. While Triple H and Shawn Michaels delivered the promos and antics, Chyna often served as the silent but unmistakable intimidating muscle of the group. Her willingness to confront any challenger made her stand out, even in a faction filled with larger-than-life personalities, so it meant that their segments were always good to watch on TV. And things only continued to get better for her as Chyna would see herself in single storylines. And if there was any doubt whether the company wasn't sure if she would be a believable enforcer, that idea was thrown out in February of 1998 on Raw, when she stepped into the ring with Stone Cold Steve Austin, the biggest star in the company. But before we continue, I'd like to give a special shout out to the sponsor of this video, Aura. Aura is an all-in-one digital platform designed to protect you and your family from the growing threats of identity theft, financial fraud, and online scams. And with Aura, you get a powerful tool like identity monitoring, credit protection, and VPN all wrapped into one simple app. But one of the best things about Aura is how easy it is to use. With real-time alerts, 24/7 customer support, and a comprehensive coverage, Aura gives you the peace of mind that knowing that your personal information is safe. Plus, Aura's family plan ensures that everyone in your household is protected no matter where they are in the world. So if you're serious about keeping your online life secure, check out Aura. Click the link in the description to learn more and get started on a 14-day trial with Aura today. So back to the video. When Stone Cold was confronted by Chyna in the ring during a segment involving D-Generation X, at the time, Triple H and Shawn Michaels had been using Chyna as a shield to avoid Austin's wrath, knowing that Austin wouldn't hit a woman. However, Stone Cold's character was unafraid to break the rules, which led to an interesting segment over on Raw.
She's in no man's land. She's really given Austin a piece of her mind. She shoved him down twice. I wouldn't do that, young lady.
So after a brief standoff, Austin teased leaving the ring, only to spin around and deliver a devastating Stone Cold Stunner to Chyna. The crowd erupted, shocked and thrilled by Austin's bold move. But more importantly, this moment showcased Chyna's willingness to take bumps from male wrestlers, further cementing her as a trailblazer in breaking gender barriers within WWE. Moving forward, Chyna began a program with Mark Henry when DX was feuding with the Nation of Domination. The storyline began in August of 1998 when The Rock attempted to humiliate Chyna by ordering allowing Mark Henry to kiss her. Chyna, however, fought back against the insult, and following this, Henry began to pursue her romantically, eventually resorting to a storyline of sexual harassment charges after one of her beatdowns, unless she agreed to go out on a date with him. Then Chyna reluctantly accepted and eventually appeared to reconcile with him, becoming his on-screen girlfriend and ally. However, in January of 1999, Chyna revealed that the entire relationship had been a setup to humiliate Henry, as the audience would soon find out at that year's Royal Rumble. Chyna would go on to make history at the 99 Royal Rumble match, where she would be the first female performer to enter the match and eliminated Mark Henry. And while she was not in the match for long, the whole thing was just groundbreaking. And then from there, Chyna's year then just took a significant turn when she became the first woman in the history to participate in the King of the Ring tournament. She went on to defeat Val Venus in the first round, but later lost to Road Dogg in the quarterfinals. And while she was never meant to go over in the tournament, that didn't stop her from going after the men's championships. Chyna soon became the #1 contender for the WWE title that year, but she lost her opportunity to Mankind just before SummerSlam. Simply put, can you imagine any woman going after a WWE title these days? Internet would have a severe meltdown. But back then, Chyna had no problem contending for the men's titles, as she seemed genuinely believable. But perhaps Chyna's best feud came in the form of the Intercontinental Championship program with Jeff Jarrett, as the two went on to have a long and memorable feud. And it's fair to say this is around the time she became a fan favorite for most. Why? Well, leading up to this moment, Chyna endured months of mockery and obstacles in her feud with Jeff Jarrett, a rivalry that symbolized the clash of the old school attitudes and the new era Chyna represented. But while you can argue that these segments might have not aged well, it's fair to say that they were entertaining to watch.
My name is Jeff Jarrett, and I'm a man's man.
My side of the fence, the way I was handling the females and the women was they have their place, barefoot and pregnant in the kitchen.
Watch this.
Women are only good for 3 things: cooking, cleaning, and making babies.
And at Unforgiven that year, she challenged Jarrett for the IC title, but came up just a bit short. However, that wasn't going to stop her from her pursuit, because Jeff's character was just such a perfect heel for audiences to hate, which subsequently made Chyna the perfect hero, as the two would continue to deliver perfect promos and segments on Raw and SmackDown for audiences around the world. And it was segments like these that just took the whole feud to a new level. So at No Mercy, Chyna went against Jarrett in a good housekeeping match. There was definitely excitement in the arena, but also nerves, as there was a growing uncertainty about whether WWE would make a move. But once the bell rang, we all knew we were witnessing history and something legendary. Because the good housekeeping stipulation, a match filled with household items like cooking pans, brooms, and even a vacuum cleaner, all of which was meant to degrade Chyna, but it turned to her biggest asset, as Chyna defied those very stereotypes by using the tools intended to mock her as her weapons. The two literally hit each other with everything, including the kitchen sink. But in true WWE fashion, there was a leak leading up to this event. Word had gotten out that this was Jeff Jarrett's final appearance within WWF. So naturally, everyone believed that Chyna would be going over, and that's when WWE hit everyone with one of the biggest twists that year.
Boom, he hits Chyna with the belt, and to everybody's shock and amazement, 1, 2, 3, Jeff wins.
You could have heard a pin drop once the bell rang. It was that shocking. But WWE did have one more ace up their sleeves, and the fact that the IC title was not a household item, therefore Jeff Jarrett couldn't leave with his title and the match had to continue. So while Jarrett was arguing with the referee, Chyna grabbed his guitar, whacked him over the head, and went for the 3 count to make WWE history. With this victory, Chyna became the only woman to win the Intercontinental Championship, which led to another insane storyline later that year.
Some guy.
Chyna's next rivalry was with Chris Jericho, leading to a series of intense matches, and while she successfully defended the title against him at Survivor Series, she would go on to lose it to him at Armageddon later that year. And their feud continued, and on the December 28th episode of SmackDown, the two faced off against each other in a match that ended in controversy as both wrestlers pinned each other simultaneously. In response, the then head of authority Stephanie McMahon declared them both co-Intercontinental Champions. And the storyline accumulated at Royal Rumble that year, where Chyna and Chris Jericho defended the title in a triple threat match against Hardcore Holly, with Jericho ultimately picking up the win and emerging as the sole Intercontinental Champion. So, not long after losing the IC title, Chyna became the on-screen girlfriend of Eddie Guerrero. Originally pitched as villains, their chemistry was just amazing, and they became fan favorites during the summer of 2000, as Chyna would go on to win the IC champion for the second time at SummerSlam, only to lose it to Eddie 2 weeks later. And at the same time, Chyna posed nude for Playboy magazine in November's 2000 issue, and this was also worked into a WWE storyline which drew the attention of the Right to Censor faction, and this will be her last memorable feud that most fans would remember. It would also be the last time that she was given anything significant, as there was a rumor flying about at the time that she happened to work a bit stiff within the ring, and it was Chris Jericho of all people to be the one to call her out when being interviewed about their program together, marking that she wasn't as good as she thought she was.
Like wrestling Chyna?
Terrible.
Really?
She was terrible to work with. She wasn't good, but she thought she was. And she also was in a position where they were pushing her really big that she could beat up guys. She couldn't.
Obviously.
And like
as viewers, we bought
But I never got that credit. No one ever once said, you're making her look good. It was the other side of the coin.
So soon after coming back from a horrible neck injury, she won the women's title at everybody's favorite pay-per-view, WrestleMania 17, where she defeated Ivory in a squash match. Eventually, in 2001, things between Chyna and the company began to fall apart, and this is where her downfall seems to begin. After winning the women's title and defending it a few times, Chyna was taken off television as she was approaching the end of her contract. Now, there have been several reports as why Chyna's relationship with WWE came to a rocky end. Several sources claim that WWE was offering Chyna a new contract of $400,000 a year, but she was asking for a whopping $1 million a year, similar to the top stars within the company. However, you have to take in consideration that she thought she was one of the biggest names at the time, and she wanted to make the same money that The Rock and Stone Cold were making. But it must be said, every great story has a turning point, and for Chyna, it began behind the scenes. She was dating Triple H in real life, but when rumors of his relationship with Stephanie McMahon surfaced while doing the whole getting married storyline, it only made things more complicated. This wasn't just workplace drama. Stephanie McMahon was the daughter of WWE's owner Vince McMahon. She herself could see that Triple H's career was moving up and wanted to support him and avoid the obvious signals around her. And she would go on to shed light upon the whole situation while being interviewed by Vice about all the backstage drama and how she actually found out that Triple H was cheating on her.
His career was moving up, and therefore he was having a lot of, meetings with Vince and Stephanie and like the crew there. I should not be like the jealous wifey and get on his case about being too friendly with the boss's daughter or with the boss. Just let him do his thing. I found a love letter from Stephanie that had dated a year back. So the whole time they were doing the storyline, basically they were together.
When I found out, I was devastated. It hurt me. I think when she met him, she found somebody that she really loved. And I think she was devastated when that relationship ended.
So many believe that the fallout from this love triangle, along with Chyna's rising stardom, created tension backstage. And by 2001, after having a conversation with Vince McMahon about the whole ordeal, Chyna was gone from WWE entirely. Officially, it was over a contract dispute, but unofficially, the writing was on the wall, and sadly things only got worse from this point onwards.
Great, my name is Anthony Anzaldo with Good Guy Entertainment, and I work with Chyna, who's a former employee.
So after leaving WWE, Chyna would go on to have a brief stint in New Japan and TNA, and life for her after WWE was full of battles with alcohol and drug addiction. During that period, her mental health was also in shambles. So after leaving WWE, Chyna struggled to find her footing. Hollywood wasn't knocking down her door, and the fame she once thrived on began to slip away. Desperate to stay relevant, she turned to reality TV, which, let's be honest, only exploited her pain. Then came a decision that shocked fans. Chyna entered the adult film industry. While she hoped it will help her financially, it alienated her from her wrestling fans and former colleagues alike. And unfortunately, things only got worse. Chyna's struggles with mental health and addiction were no secret. She appeared on Celebrity Rehab, but the damage ran deep. She had a falling out with WWE, and any attempts to reconnect, like attending a Hall of Fame ceremony, was shut down. But tragedy struck in April of 2016. Chyna was found dead in her apartment. The cause? An accidental overdose on prescription medication. Her death was a sobering reminder of how the pressure of fame and the lack of a safety net for wrestlers can lead to heartbreak. Though she never got the recognition she deserved in her lifetime, Chyna's legacy lives on. In 2019, she was inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame as part of DX, and fans continue to celebrate her as a pioneer who changed the game for women in wrestling forever. The ninth wonder of the world may be gone, but her impact is undeniable. And at the Hall of Fame that year, she rightfully got her moment. When the crowd saw her image on the Titantron, they started chanting she deserves it, with all members of DX agreeing that the trailblazer Chyna deserved every moment.
You're not going to get any argument out of me or any of us. You all said it best, so I won't go on about it. Ladies and gentlemen, we wouldn't be where we're at or who we are without the contributions of the ninth wonder of the world, Chyna.
It's sad to know what Chyna went through after her career in WWE, but with everything she accomplished in the company, it's safe to say that she left an everlasting legacy for herself. She literally paved the way for the next generation, and without her, the women's division would have never come this far. And while she may have been inducted into the Hall of Fame as part of DX, I think it's about time she got inducted as a single star. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. And if you enjoyed the video, make sure to subscribe for more.